Just to make it clear, you've got Christopher Kenna being
Featuring.
accompanied by
the backing
Jerry.
dancer.
He always gets announced first. I even made myself bigger in the slide. So a little bit about what we're going to talk about. I know it's an intriguing title of Are You Missing Out on the Fourth Richest Country in the World? And what we mean by that is if you were to take all LGBTQ plus people and stick them on one island, their combined consumer spend, flip it to GDP, it would be the fourth richest country in the world. You know, so, and then we're going to talk about a few other different diversity strands as well, but that was the intriguing sort of get used to come and sit on the seats line. And then my second weapon is Jerry, because he's a big client, so you might stay just because he's here. All right, do I need to use this clicker? I thought first though, rather than, I'm sure at every sort of event like this, people get up and tell you why you should be doing something better, why you should be speaking to different diverse groups. So I thought, rather than start with that, I'll tell you a little bit about me and why I have eventually founded and CEO of Brand Advance and how we work globally with clients like GSK and Google and Unilever in our first 18 months, because we only founded 18 months ago. And yeah, tell you a bit more about myself really. So, already told you that one. Okay, I hate that picture. Right, this is where it all began. So I was born on that little rock that most of the time on the weather they don't actually show you, the Isle of Man. And I was the first black kid ever born there. So I got a little certificate that's, yep, they did that. And this certificate says I'm the first black kid born in the hospital, but there's only one hospital, so basically the Isle of Man. And then, obviously, how that came about was first school trip out of the island. My mum was 15. She went to the UK mainland, came back, belly rose, 15-year-old, had a little black child. No one had ever seen one before. So the flip downside to that was I got put in care. So I went into care the day before my first birthday. And then I was in care till I was 14. No, till I was 15 and 9 months. And then I joined the army. So I joined the army just before my 16th birthday. What can I really say about the army? I was there for 9 years. I did 2 tours. So went to Germany, was my first posting, then I did a tour of Iraq, then went to Afghan, and then went back to Iraq again. A few little pictures in case you're interested. That's before I went to Iraq the first time. That was my basic training on the top left. I was a PTI instructor for a few years in Germany, which is that one down there. And then after I'd done a few years in the gym, I went and did selection for SES, failed the first time, passed the second time, and spent my last 3 years in Hereford. While all that was going on, I met my now ex-wife. Don't know why I'm leading with that. And we made these following on my mum's tradition. Had my first one when I was 16. Well, made her when I was 15. She was born when I was 16. Just thought I'd continue that tradition on. But I stuck around. And then my son had him a few years later. Will notice as well, same ex-wife, but, and there is a point to this, I'm not just pointing it out, but there's a difference in colour. There's a difference in colour. Don't know why. Dominant German gene. Then I won out gene-wise with the son. I'm losing my way. So, a little bit before, this was a false story. News of the World printed it. I feel like I've had the last laugh. No more News of the World. And then the Times ran it as well. But let me tell you a bit behind this. So basically, I got blown up in Iraq the second time. And so I was in a coma. I was in a coma for 8 weeks. I didn't know when you're in a coma that you're actually in that bit between being asleep and awake. So that lucid bit. So what you have for, I think they say about 20 minutes, don't they, when you're in bed? You actually only dream for the last 20 minutes when you hit that lucid bit. Am I double echoing? Well, I was actually there for 8 weeks. So I had had this lucid reality that was, I came out to everyone. I was like, oh, there's something I need to tell you. So I told the army, I told friends, I told my ex-wife and the kids. And then I woke up and I was in Birmingham in a rehabilitation centre, and I hadn't actually told anyone, but nobody had told me that I didn't tell anyone. So then, ex-wife goes to kiss you, and you're sort of like, yeah, why are you doing that? I've told you I'm gay. That was the first time she heard. Don't worry, she made money and take a break and stuff. So they sort of took two stories. One, I was in the SAS. One, I had come out as gay. I actually got medically discharged because I've got epilepsy from getting blown up, and they put them together and made this false story. And really, the reason for telling you all that, and it's certainly about the explosion, etc., is because the next slide that I bring up is the reason why I founded Brand Advance. And I think as well for Jerry and for Hugh at the front here and other people, this is the very reason we speak on a lot of stages all over the place, all over the world at the moment, talking about this very thing. But this slide, the truth behind this, which for most brands in here, I'd go as far as to say any brands in here, you have got one or more of these keyword blocks. This hurt more than getting blown up. Just because, there's words in there that are blocked that are me. There's words in there that mean that advertisers digitally can reach my daughter, but they can't reach my son just because of the media that he consumes, just because of the culture that he follows. And it just, and then, I won't say them out loud, but, the words at the bottom, they're blocked more than that. We block the word Muslim, we block the word Asian, we block the word black and gay and lesbian more than we block them bottom words. And it just felt like that can't be right. So that's what Brand Advance was built on. And also, not just let's take away. I think a lot of the time when people are on stages like this, they sort of talk about the moral reason why we should be speaking to these demographics. Let's forget all that, we should be doing it. Let's just talk about money, because that's what, every brand is basically trying to make more of. All these pockets, and by pockets, I mean really deep 3.7 trillion pounds worth pockets, or dollars, are demographics that are being missed because of keyword blocking. These are demographics that are being missed because of where media placement is and the media that agencies actually work with and don't work with. And, the numbers on there are staggering. They're consumer spend, global consumer spends that we put on them numbers. And they're the reasons why, I don't understand why anybody didn't do what I've done in the last 18 months, 5 years ago. Before I'd thought of it. It was simple, really. Find a way to that brands don't have to use them keyword, them block words. And I get it. Reason black is blocked is because on the internet, it could go next to gang related. Muslim is blocked because it could go next to an ISIS video. Gay is blocked. We know why gay is blocked. But so. I can understand on the internet, but the real simple way to get around it, and what Brand Advance just did, was take all the publications globally for each of these demographics, stick them on another ad server, wall the garden off. Now you don't need to block black or Muslim or gay, because you've only got publications, you've got all your brand safety, and we work with each publication, etc. But we reach about 850 million people every month, unique visitors, across all the publishers that we've got on the platform. We go across other channels as well, but I don't want to sell Brand Advance, so let me move on. But yeah, the real, sort of, if there's any takeaway from today, really is brands now need to start reaching them. And reaching all of these different demographics as well is basically how you're going to reach Gen Z, or work with the guy up there that's got a Gen Z agency. But, this is where they are. There isn't a Gen Z magazine. They are consuming media and want to, will draw to brands that speak to each of these demographics. You don't need to be queer to like queer fashion. I can't think of anything off the top of my head for another one, but that's my most profound statement. And then, you know, we have report after survey after insight that tells us that speaking to any of these any of these demographics in their media means that your brand or relevance is going to be 2.7 times more likely to purchase the brand for the first time, 50% more likely to repurchase a brand. And that is really, you know, matching, because pretty much every brand or agency here is already doing really good, inclusive creative, you know. I see myself in creative all the time. But then I also see it in traditional, or let's call it mainstream media. You know, you'll have LGBTQ plus creative, but nobody's got Gay Times or Attitude or Diva or Gay Star News in their media plan. So over there, you know, it's doing a really good job as a D&I project for your brand. And it's, you know, if I always give the analogy, if I'm sat on the metro and on the metro, no, start again. If I'm sat on the tube reading the metro and Land Rover has a same-sex couple, you know, even an interracial same-sex couple in the Land Rover, I don't think Land Rover's trying to sell to me. And studies show that I'm not the only person that thinks like this. I think you're telling the straight guy next to me that Land Rover accepts me. Take that exact same ad and stick it in Gay Times or just in contextually relevant media, and straight away it's selling to me. Because it's not a D&I project when it's in a contextually relevant environment. You know, you don't need to tell other people like me that you're accepting me. And whether that's, you know, media for my mixed raceness, my blackness, whether it's media for the fact that I'm LGBTQ+, well, no, I'm just gay, but within LGBTQ+, then, you know, I just think contextual relevance, and let's be honest, especially when it comes to the digital sort of ecosystem at the moment, we don't know how much longer we're going to be able to target in the target we do individually. So having a main contextually relevant targeting that hits a large demographic seems like the easy way out when that house of cards tumbles. And if we don't do it, you know, and Jerry's going to speak a little bit on this because he's sat very quietly. You are allowed to speak, by the way. If you don't, you know, if we don't start to rethink where we place consumer spend, commercial spend, where we put our ads, then these publications that speak to these large swathes of society, these large demographics, are going to close. You know, we've had some big closures in the last 5 years. Now, there's a bit of smoke up my own backside, but now, you know, because of brand advance and bringing in the consumer spend of places like Unilever and Google and GSK, we're starting to see, you know, more and more diverse publications get more of their fair share. You know, there's no reason why, and I was commercial director at Gay Times, and this actually happened, where you're haggling with a media agency for £500 for a double-page spread in Gay Times that could reach the same amount of people as GQ, but they're more than happy to spend 30 grand over there for the same size, you know, same audience, same size. Not that there's anything wrong with GQ, but I just mean, is it, you know, do we look at it cheaper to speak to somebody that's LGBT or that's BAME or disability or, you know, 50 plus? Oh, here's a good fact for 50 plus. I'm sure you all know this, but it's my fact, so I'm going to say it. Let's see if I get it right. 47% of UK consumer spend is by people 50 or over, but only 5% of advertising is spent on reaching them. Am I right on that one? I'm pretty sure I am. But I just think that's mad. Like, this is just like everybody's chasing Gen Z. They haven't even got a job yet. Everyone's chasing millennials. We're still paying our mortgage. And, you know, so the ones that have actually paid off the house and the kids have left and have got some money to go on cruises all over the place, we're not even bothered with. So I just don't get it.
Yeah, so I think Chris asked me to come in and give a bit of a client stat. I feel like I'm at the end of a sort of a US political broadcast. I'm like, I'm Jerry Dakin and I approve this message. It doesn't need my approval. When I work at GSK, I've been there for a year or so. I used to work at Diageo. In our spare time, we both volunteer at an organisation called Advertising, which tries to encourage people to do very similar stuff to this in terms of how they represent consumers in the media. And I'm also part of obscure sounding things like the Conscious Advertising Network and the Global Alliance for Responsible Media, all initiatives to try and challenge marketers at kind of where we spend our money really matters. And whether we like it or not, whether we accept it or not, advertising funds most of the internet. We shape the content that's out there. We can get rid of voices if we don't fund them. We can create new voices that probably nobody ever wanted. There's like celebrity plastic surgery slideshows you have to click through and see hundreds of slides and pop-ups and things. Advertisers created those because they didn't really care where their money spent as long as they got clicks and bullets. So it's kind of really, really important for us that we spend our money in the right place. And that some of that is a responsibility thing. We want to make sure that hate speech isn't supported, that fake news isn't encouraged, that the quality of the internet remains a good and a positive place. We want to do the right thing for our consumers, but some of it, as Chris has been saying throughout, is just a business thing. I think my quote at the start, we want to use digital and data and targeting to reach to be relevant to more consumers and not to reach fewer. And there's a real risk, not just in this topic, but just generally, where we have targeting and we layer on loads of different targeting, we get a really specific view of who we want to reach. In the good old days of TV, yes, you can have a really specific view of who you're reaching, but you also do reach lots of other people around that. With digital targeting, when you put in certain demographics or keywords or numbers, you quite heavily lock down to reaching that audience. And do you really want to do that? Do you really want to exclude those people? During my time at Diageo and indeed GSK, we've lived through some scary things in media on discovering that our media is funding stuff that we really, really don't want it to fund. And quite rightly, as an industry, we've tried to adapt and fight back against that. The Diageo launched what they call the trusted marketplace. GSK, we have similar approaches to making sure that we have brand safety settings. We don't appear in the wrong places. But one of the things we found at Diageo, and Smirnoff is one of the brands I used to have great pleasure in working on there. And if you're familiar with their creative, it is really, really sort of diverse and inclusive. It's about labels are for bottles, not for people. They've done some really fantastic work. And the brand manager came to us one day and was like, we're really struggling with our digital because kind of all the brand safety settings and all the stuff you've put in place, which, we get, we don't want to fund the bad stuff, but it's stopping us reach the audience that we want to. It's stopping us because you haven't put these smaller publications on our site lists because, and we did do a big review of some of those words to make sure that we weren't being too black and white. But as an example, Diageo had the word Frozen on its keyword blocking list. Now, Frozen is a Disney movie. It's not an ideal place to serve alcohol adverts. Fair enough. It's also frozen margaritas, frozen cocktails. It's also a massive part of kind of the business. How do you find more nuance and balance around that? There was a good one pointed out around the Super Bowl attack. I think nearly all of us wouldn't want to appear next to an article about attack unless it was the Super Bowl attack and an attack in a football team and an attack in a sports context. So, we need to find the right balance and the right nuance. And I think, we're excited to be working with Brand Advance. It's one of the ways of kind of making sure you reach this consumer. But definitely, I think, as a whole, we need to start paying more attention to sort of where our adverts going, what they're funding, both, for the good of society and also for the good of our brands and our bottom line.
See, he speaks so much better than me. And then I've got one more slide just because we're going to announce it today, and what better place on stage. But to sort of, like I said, Brand Advance has been around for 18 months. We're now working with some good clients. And so what we want to do is make sure that's going back into, diverse media. So we're announcing that we're going to give £100,000 in funding for new publishers. So anybody that has an idea for a new publication that speaks to a diverse community, because not only is it going to, make sure them voices stay alive, but it gives us more inventory as well. So keep it commercial. It seems like the right thing to do, to put something back. So please, if I can ask, you don't have to put my name on it or anything, but if you can tweet that out in your companies and stuff, just so that we can get as many people knowing about it, so we can sort of start to build back up and make sure, there's a lot going on in the world, from the Antichrist on the other side of the pond and stuff. I'm joking. A bit. But, you know, I think voices, what I'm trying to say is voices, you know, the voices of the demographics that haven't had the loudest platforms still need to be heard, and we need to make sure that they stay alive. Thank you.
Thank you.